When stars come out and skies turn deep, it's time for hearts to softly keep the love of God, both big and small, to share with others, one and all. Be kind to friends, both near and far. God sees your heart just where you are. A smile, a hurt, a hug, a gentle word can spread His love through all the world. Your God loves hearts that shine, not stun. Show tenderness, that's all, not stun. The quiet ones who help, not stun. Show tenderness, that shine, not there. When someone stumbles, who help with care.
Barnaby's leap of faith.
Young rabbit with soft brown fur and long, thoughtful ears often found himself gazing at the endless sky, pondering the vastness of the world beyond his cozy burrow. He lived in a vibrant, bustling warren, where worries about predators and harsh winters often filled the air, casting long shadows over even the brightest days. Barnaby, however, yearned for something more profound than mere survival. He sought a deeper meaning, a peace that seemed to elude many of his kin. One crisp morning, as the dew still clung to the blades of grass, Barnaby ventured out to a quiet glade he often visited. It was a place of solitude, where a single ancient oak tree stood sentinel, its branches reaching towards the heavens, like an open prayer. Here, Barnaby often felt a sense of calm, a whisper of something greater than himself. It was in this glade that Barnaby first encountered the teachings of Jesus. Not through a direct voice, but through an old weathered scroll he discovered nestled among the roots of the ancient oak. The scroll, bound with a simple leather thong, contained parables and lessons, penned in a language that spoke directly to his heart. He learned about love, not just for those who were kind, but for all creatures, even those who might seem different or difficult. He read about forgiveness, a concept that felt revolutionary in a world where grudges were often held like precious stones. Most importantly, he discovered the idea of trust faith, a profound and unwavering trust in a loving God, who cared for every sparrow, every lily, and every small rabbit. Barnaby devoured the words, spending hours each day in the glade, his heart swelling with newfound hope. The teachings spoke of a shepherd who leaves the 99 to find the one lost sheep, a testament to individual worth and divine care. He began to see the world through new eyes, noticing the intricate beauty of a spider's web, the resilience of a tiny sprout pushing through rocky soil, and the comforting warmth of the sun. However, embracing these teachings was not without its challenges. His fellow rabbits in the warren, steeped in their anxieties, often questioned his newfound serenity. "How can you be so calm, Barnaby?" they'd ask, their whiskers twitching with apprehension. "Don't you worry about the fox? Don't you fear the eagle's shadow?" Barnaby would gently explain, "I still feel those fears, dear friends. But now, I also feel something else. A deep trust that I am not alone. That there is a loving hand guiding us, even through the darkest valleys." His words, though sincere, often met with skepticism, sometimes even ridicule. Some called him naive, others foolish. One particularly harsh winter descended upon the warren. Food became scarce, and the cold winds bit deep. Despair began to spread like a creeping frost. The younger rabbits shivered, and even the elders looked gaunt and worried. Barnaby, remembering the teachings of Jesus, felt a strong urge to help, to demonstrate the love he had learned. He recalled the parable of the loaves and fishes, and though he had no miraculous feast to offer, he knew he could share what little he had. Barnaby spent his days foraging tirelessly, not just for himself, but for the most vulnerable in the warren, often giving away his own meager findings. He found forgotten patches of frozen berries and dug for buried roots, bringing them back to the hungry. He also shared stories from the scroll, tales of hope and resilience, of unwavering faith in the face of adversity. He spoke of the mustard seed, small yet growing into the largest of plants, symbolizing the power of faith, no matter how tiny it might seem. His gentle words, coupled with his selfless actions, began to plant tiny seeds of hope in the hearts of his skeptical kin. One afternoon, a blizzard raged, trapping many rabbits in their burrows. A young, sickly kit named Lily, separated from her mother, was crying weakly in a snowdrift. Most rabbits were too afraid to venture out, paralyzed by fear of the storm. But Barnaby, remembering the shepherd who seeks the lost, knew he had to act. Praying for strength and guidance, he braved the swirling snow, his heart pounding, but his resolve firm. He found Lily shivering and near collapse. Carefully, he nudged her towards his own warm burrow, protecting her with his body from the biting wind. He gave her the last of his stored hay and snuggled close, sharing his warmth. Through the long night, Barnaby comforted Lily, whispering stories of Jesus' love and protection. He didn't know if they would survive the storm, but he trusted that they were in God's hands. He remembered Jesus' words, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." When morning finally broke, the storm had passed, leaving behind a pristine, snow-covered world. Lily, though weak, was alive. News of Barnaby's courage and selflessness spread quickly through the warren. The rabbits, witnessing his unwavering faith in action, began to look at him differently. They saw not a naive dreamer, but a beacon of hope. They saw the tangible results of his trust in God's provision, and his commitment to Jesus' teachings of love and sacrifice. Slowly, cautiously, some began to ask him about the scroll, about the lessons he had embraced. Barnaby, with a humble heart, shared what he knew. He spoke of God's unconditional love, of the importance of kindness, of the power of forgiveness, and of the peace that comes from surrendering one's worries to a higher power. He explained that trusting in God didn't mean the absence of fear, but the presence of courage to face it. He taught them that faith was like a tiny seed that, with nurturing, could grow into a mighty tree, providing shade and shelter. He emphasized that every act of love, no matter how small, resonated with divine grace. The warren began to transform. Little acts of kindness became more common. Rabbits shared food more readily. Grudges began to soften. The atmosphere, once thick with anxiety, started to lighten, replaced by a quiet undercurrent of hope and mutual support. Barnaby's faith had become a gentle, guiding light for his community. He continued to visit the ancient oak, not just to read, but to pray and meditate, his heart full of gratitude. He knew that the path of faith was an ongoing journey, filled with both sunshine and shadows, but he no longer walked it alone. He walked it hand in hand with his trust in God, guided by the enduring wisdom of Jesus. Barnaby realized that trusting in God wasn't about avoiding difficulties. It was about finding strength and peace within them. It was about knowing that even when the path seemed dark, there was always a loving presence watching over them, guiding them through. His life became a living testament to the power of faith. He showed his warren that true strength came not from brute force or cunning, but from a gentle, loving heart rooted in divine trust. He embodied the verse, "With God, all things are possible, not through grand miracles, but through daily acts of grace." The seasons turned, and Barnaby grew older, his fur now dappled with grey. He became a respected elder, known throughout the land for his wisdom, and his unwavering faith. Young kits would gather around him, eager to hear his stories, especially those from the ancient scroll. He would tell them about the importance of a pure heart, of seeking goodness in every situation, and of extending compassion to all beings. He taught them that true wealth wasn't found in hoarded nuts or comfortable burrows, but in a spirit filled with love and gratitude. Barnaby's greatest joy was witnessing the transformation of his warren. The rabbits now faced challenges with a quiet resilience, leaning on each other and on their shared faith. The fear that once dominated their lives had been replaced by a deep-seated hope and a sense of interconnectedness. He reminded them that trusting in God meant letting go of the need to control every outcome, and instead, embracing the journey with an open heart. It was about believing that even when things didn't go as planned, there was a greater purpose at work, a divine plan unfolding. He often spoke of the peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that came from deep within, nurtured by a constant connection to the divine. This peace, he explained, was a gift, freely given to those who sought it, with a sincere heart. Barnaby emphasized that the teachings of Jesus were not just ancient words, but living principles that could transform lives and communities. They were a blueprint for a life filled with meaning, purpose, and abundant love. He taught them to see God's love in the simplest things: the warmth of the sun, the song of a bird, the gentle rustle of leaves. He encouraged them to cultivate an attitude of gratitude, recognizing the blessings in every moment. His life was a gentle sermon, demonstrating that faith was not a passive belief, but an active living force that guided actions and shaped character. He was living proof that a small rabbit, through profound trust, could inspire an entire community. And so Barnaby, the young rabbit who once gazed at the sky with questions, became the wise elder who showed his warren the path to true peace. He taught them that by embracing the teachings of Jesus and trusting in God's unfailing love, they could overcome any fear and find everlasting joy. His legacy was not built on grand achievements, but on the quiet, steady devotion of a heart committed to faith. He had found the deeper meaning he sought, and in doing so, had illuminated the path for countless others.